Oh, hello and welcome back to the channel. That amazing sound from that Audi, the V10, absolutely amazing sounding engine, it really is. I enjoy driving this car every time I get in it. It really is a pleasure no matter what the conditions. But yes, here we are in the special event at Brands Hatch, running the 30-minute session, 19 solid laps. I don't think I'll be able to hit 20 laps. I know on PC they managed 20 laps, some of the drivers, but certainly having a stiff competition at the top in this one. A number of weeks ago I managed to run 6 seconds a lap faster than any previous driver, and then 2 other drivers stepped up to the mark. Assetto is definitely one of them that's been pushing me at the top of the leaderboard. I think he managed 7 seconds faster than I'd managed, so to imagine going 13 seconds faster overall throughout the session was quite a feat, I think. But I spent a little bit of time with the track lap calculator that I'll link in the description. I tend to use this for the longer sessions just to give me an idea of what lap times I need to be hitting in order to hit a good lap time throughout the whole session. The wet weather tyres changed drastically from one lap to the next, especially in the very early stages of this special event, and I'll talk about that shortly. But yeah, it's been a while since I did a video. I've had a week's holiday out of the country enjoying some sunshine. Obviously COVID issues throughout the whole holiday, but obviously getting back home and I've got to do a little bit of self-isolation, so what better to spend that time in doing a setup. So let's get into it. Let's take a look at this leaderboard, and as you can see, Assetto at the top, just myself 4/10 of a second just behind him. Now over a 30-minute session to be 4/10 behind is definitely very close, and Vince also pushing up the top with a 30.10 and a long way off the other drivers, to be fair. But yeah, running that sort of lap time for 13 or 19 laps, 30 minutes, it's definitely a testament to any of the drivers. The concentration needed for this whole session, really. So just looking at one of my minor mistakes, as you can see, just 5 minutes into the session, and just a tiny clip of that curb, and yes, I am a human, a tiny error like that, and that's the end of it, I'm afraid. Full concentration for the 30 minutes is definitely required. So let's get into it. Let's take a look at how it progresses. So just listening to the garage voice as you start there, it's all about consistency, don't push too hard, and that couldn't be more true apart from this first lap. So as you can see, coming into here, I'm absolutely nailing this first lap. This is totally nothing like any other lap that you're going to put in this session. So with this setup, it will be available on the SetSpace website for download. As I've always mentioned, any donations are very much appreciated, as I'm sure they are from any of the other drivers leaving setups, but obviously I've spent a heck of a long time trying to get this setup ironed out to be able to hit the top leaderboards, or the top of this leaderboard at least. So yeah, oh, what a lap this is, I tell you. The first lap, if every lap felt like this, I could really enjoy driving in the wet. There just seems to be an endless amount of grip compared to the next, let's say the next 17 laps, because the lap after this is sort of comparable. Midway through the lap, the grip just goes completely. So I think this initial lap was a 32.8. I think I've been in the 32.5s on my first lap, so there's 3/10 straight away, which I could have clawed back, but it wasn't really apparent how close I was going to be to Isocost's time. So to get to 4/10 away, I was really kicking myself when I finished this whole session, this 30-minute session. So as you can see there, crossing the line with a 1:32.8. Now, having done, sorry, just readjust myself there. So having done the calculator that I use, I put into the calculator the first lap would be a 1:33, and then the next lap would be a 1:35, and then the 2 laps after that would be 1:36s, and then the following laps, every single lap has to be a 1:35. Now throughout this session, you'll notice, I don't know if you've run the session or if you're thinking about doing it, it's certainly an eye-opener into driving in the wet weather, and certainly a tip I would like to share during this video is to do with deceleration. It's a very different driving technique to driving in dry weather. You'll notice that I'm doing a lot more braking in a straight line, and then as the car's slowed down and the engine rev has sort of dropped, then I'm changing gear. Usually I'd be very quick to change gear during the deceleration process, but now I've sort of come to the terms that you need to brake in a straight line, change down the gear and then accelerate, rather than a quick shift down whilst you're braking and then accelerate. So as you can see here, it's a long braking section, down again through the gear and then back on the power. Again, coming into this section, just braking before the board, then straight line braking, then changing gear, then down again, and then back on the acceleration. I'll go through a few of them that are important. Again, this one, braking in a straight line, down a gear, don't touch any of that inside curb, it's absolutely treacherous. And then again, braking at the board on the right hand side, down, braking a straight line, then down to second, and just stay on the inside curb. There's no point running wide and then taking a late apex up the hill. It seems to be much better to stay on the inside line, and braking at the first board, down into fourth, then down into third, and then accelerating off. And then at the second board here, braking in a straight line and then into second. It was much different. It sort of feels like a small change that I've made, but it's definitely had a massive difference to the outcome. It's just so much more consistent. I think as soon as you start slowing down too quickly in the wet and using the gears and the engine braking to slow the car, it really does cause the rear of the car to lose traction. So if you're used to using the engine braking in a very aggressive way, I think, during normal driving, dry weather driving, bringing that same mentality into wet weather driving is definitely the wrong thing to be doing. You really spend more time on the brake, coming down, changing down through the gears when there's less revs going through the engine is a much smoother way to drive in the wet weather. So as you can see, we've gone from a 32-minute lap, the first lap, and then we've gone to a 35 and now a 36.6. So already I'm 600ths of a second over my desired sort of lap time at this stage. So as much as I've done, I did a 32.8, so I've got to think, you've got to think all the time when you're doing this, that obviously I've gained 3/10 on my initial lap. Obviously I was looking at a 2/10, and then on my second lap I've hit a 34.6. So fortunately I've already got 6/10 in the bank really. So for me to be 6/10 over really on that last lap, I'm sort of still in contention to hit a 30 minutes 0.5 seconds overall. So this one's really important. I need to be hitting a 36 on this one to be sort of level with what I'm wanting, and managed to get just under the 36 mark, so everything's looking rosy at this stage. But in this lap I've got to then start picking up the pace. I'm not particularly drying a line at all because I'm the only car on the circuit, but as the tyres sort of get rid of that initial first rubber, the first lap, like I said, hitting a 132.8 and then a 134.6 and then jumping to the 136s, it's sort of really disconcerting as you start doing this session, because the lap times between each one are so drastic. But it really is a case of getting rid of the soft rubber on the tyre, and then the tyre hardening and getting really up to temperature. You may be laying down a tiny bit of rubber on the circuit on the line that you're using, but with the rain and storm conditions, it's really not going to benefit you a great deal. And the worst thing that I find during this process is that the lap time predominantly throughout the whole session is going to be in a negative value, which is really slightly worrying, really, because you're thinking all the time, oh well, I'm going to be nowhere near the lap delta that I'm wanting, but that will come back very close to that second lap. It doesn't really register the first lap, so as you can see, crossing the line, doing a 36.3. So definitely this is where I need to start picking up the pace now. I need to be hitting 35s, so from a 36.3 I'm definitely needing to up the pace. I need to claw back all these tenths. So I'll leave you with the video for now. You can run through a few of the laps, and I'll probably join you midway through this session, but I thought I would leave this full session on here just for someone to watch, so they can understand just what sort of lap times that I'm setting in order to get anywhere near the top of this leaderboard. If you're interested in having a go on it, it really is a testament to being consistent, and the car setup, like I said, is available on SetSpace, but yeah, just be patient with it, as much as you really are trying to push the limit of every single lap, and it is definitely what's required to get near the top of that leaderboard. There's got to be a level of awareness all the way through this, concentration, just being in the right frame of mind to do 30 minutes, and to be able to nail 19 laps as well. And like I said, the first couple of laps is very different to what's going to be evident for the rest of the lap. You see there hitting a 134.9. Now that sort of needs to be the figure that I'm aiming at now for the whole session. The tyres will be good enough from now on to hit that sort of lap time every single lap. And this tiniest little bit of a run off line, the little bit of a curve that you pick up, is all sort of negative towards traction. So you need to be staying off the curbs best you can. You need to be very gentle with the throttle. As much as I try and change the throttle from TC1 to TC6, throughout this whole session I use it very sparingly in areas that are needed. And another technique that I try and use in wet weather conditions, because it seems most beneficial overall, I think, if you can fluctuate between one traction control setting and one that's stable. So once you've got the car in a nice straight line, using a lower traction control to accelerate, which stops the bogging down from the engine management. As you can see, I use it off just 3 corners throughout the whole lap, so something to pay attention to throughout the lap where I'm using it, and something that I think you will find beneficial. It's mostly in wet weather conditions, and just getting used to that braking technique and just having the confidence to hit the lap times. I try and try and, once I've set a fast lap and I know like the 149 or 144.9, I really want to try and stay within 300ths of a lap either side of that throughout the whole of this session. And if that's something that you can aim for with the lap deltas, I know obviously we're still not being able to use I think the NDP or something like that, I forget what it stands for, to be able to use the tablet alongside you. I know a lot of people use RS Dash, myself included, and obviously that's currently not available on console, but whenever that is available, to be able to see the lap deltas and the sector time is so important to me. As a driver, I want to be able to see my sector every lap, and with where they've got the I forget what it's called now, the little on-screen, the thing that's on the dash, to be able to see the different race logic, that's it, to be able to see that every sector would be really really important for me. I don't think the accumulative lap delta that you see on the top left is as important, but it's something that you could use using the track calculator that I've added in the video description. You could use that maybe as a printout on the side of your TV or monitor or something alongside you, to know where you are with the accumulative time, whether you're falling behind. It really is a time game throughout this whole session. But yeah, as I did mention, I will leave you just to enjoy a few laps, and I'll join you a little bit later in the session. As you can see there, hitting a 134.8, and it's just about being consistent. So yeah, if you've got any questions, please do feel free. I probably will add this as a premiere as well, along with the re-edited beginner's guide. It really did annoy me, the audio not being synced partway through to the engine, so I've just re-edited that video, and hopefully in future I'll split the audio and the video file within the editing process, to hopefully get so that doesn't lose synchronicity again through any of the videos. But if you have got anything that you would like to see on the channel, I know it's been a while since my last video. I am very busy doing setups, private setups for people, so if you are wanting a private setup, I think I'll probably be upping the price due to it being so busy, to be honest. I'm providing quite a few setups for a number of drivers across the world, but trying to spend 2 hours in the car and then probably an hour editing the video. I seem to be editing the videos and doing the audios free of charge at the moment, because I do like to get the setup to a level that I'd be happy with, to be honest, before I give it to a customer. So and a lot of the drivers are using leagues that are using very mixed weather conditions. Being able to provide a setup that runs as well in wet conditions as it does in dry is very much a challenge in itself with each car. Trying to do a setup for one specific weather condition is one thing, but trying to get the car to perform well in mixed conditions is certainly been a challenge, but certainly something that I'm interested in doing. I do enjoy doing setups, as you all know, but I'll be offering them for around £30 from now onwards to any new drivers. But yeah, definitely lots of good response back from drivers using the setups. And if you are interested in a setup, please do add a comment in the comment section, or drop me a message on Messenger or in my Facebook group, or any other way that you can, really, to try and get in contact. I'd rather not leave my personal email on the channel. I'm sure the channel already gets some I'd say rogue comments that get added in there every now and then, which I'm trying to get rid of, to be honest, but they are persistent in using different accounts. But anyway, if you are interested in a setup, please do try and get in touch as best you can. And if you are wanting setups like this one, it will be on the SetsBase website. But for personal setups, they are yours. I don't give them to other people unless they are paying exactly what you've paid for that setup. So nobody else is getting the setups for free, and you can be safe in the knowledge that unless they've paid exactly what you've paid, they aren't getting hold of a very specific setup. So I will be providing setups on here, but they'll probably usually be for these sort of special events. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll leave what the 12 minutes remaining for you to enjoy, and I'll probably jump in a little bit near the end. I just thought I'd add a few other comments before I leave you with the rest of the video, just so that we can make this video a little bit more usable, I guess. But I'll add a little bit of a graphic on screen at the moment with regards to tyre temperatures. Now obviously in the wet conditions the temperatures are going to be very different, and I think if you can get the tyre into the 80 regions, it would be very beneficial. But this would generally be done by using the brake ducts and closing out the brake ducts to try and warm the inside of the tyre outwards, really. You use the brake ducts really to, I guess, to cool the brakes, but they also act as a thermal insulator, really, or a thermal emitter, really, towards the inside of the tyre. So if you're getting really hot tyres, you might choose to, as much as you're using the brakes to cool the brake ducts or cool the brake calipers and the discs themselves, you can also use the brake ducts to actually try and cool the tyre. So definitely, or even warm the tyre. So in warmer conditions where the tyre is getting really hot, you might choose to open up the brake ducts to try and cool the tyre down. Or you might find in say slightly wet conditions where the conditions aren't cold enough or wet enough to use the wet tyre, you can actually use the drying circuit in a dry tyre on a wet circuit. Maybe in light rain conditions you could choose to run a dry tyre. It's very skittish a little bit for a few laps, but once the tyre starts to or once the track starts to dry out, you'll find that the dry tyre actually runs a lot better on a wet circuit, but the tyre will be very hard to get warm, and once you start to lose the temperature in the tyre, it becomes inefficient to run that tyre. So in order to get the tyre nice and hot, or at least to a temperature where we can use it between like 70 and 90 degrees, by closing out the brake ducts, you'll actually get the tyre into a temperature that's usable. So it was just one thing I wanted to mention before I leave you with the video. Hopefully the graphic on screen will explain that. I'll try and find something from somewhere to explain that graphic. But yeah, I just thought I'd share that to do with wet weather driving. Just trying to use the brake ducts to get the tyres nice and warm. It may well overheat the brakes in certain areas, but being able to warm the tyre is definitely something you should be thinking about.
5 minutes to come. Keep it together.
So just the last few corners to navigate, and it is quite obvious that the car is able to run 35s or 135s throughout the whole session after the first couple of laps, and once the tyres have settled in, it is quite consistent. Obviously it's just down to you really having the nerve to stick it on the edge for 19 laps and just maintain the lap speed, really, the lap deltas. So yeah, as we come across this line, it's the most welcome line on the planet. Just having done that full 30-minute session, and then the moment of truth as I come to a stop and press the A button to go to the lap delta, I was absolutely gutted to see just how close I got, but how far away it is really. Second place is second place. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Hope it's been useful. Please do like and subscribe to the channel. Please do hit that bell icon for any future videos. And thanks for watching as always. If you've got any suggestions for information or details or videos that you'd like to see on the channel, please do leave a comment in the comment section. And as always, till next time, ciao for now.